see. All right. A few more minutes and we'll have this sorted out. Meanwhile, if you have questions, you can still leave those questions in the chat room. I'll be monitoring that from there as well. Let's see if we'll have some people wanting to join. Yeah, so maybe we can start now. Welcome to two of you. Maybe we try to clarify some things before we. No. So thank you. Welcome to Biochemistry 309. This course is the first phase of the biochemistry, the general biochemistry that you do at the University of Liberia. So this course is basically there to introduce you to the different types of biomolecules, and there are several types of biomolecules, right? The major ones we have amino acids, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids. These are four major biomolecules, right? Of course, as science goes, people try to see if they can discover more, but so far these are the only ones we have. And first of all, let's talk about the logistics for this class. This class will mostly, let's say 90% of the class will be online. There will be Zoom sessions like this where I'll be recording the class, but for those who have the chance to join, can join. If you join while I'm recording, you can ask questions, but the exams will be offline. So you'll do your test offline, and then there'll be some courses that you'll have to do online, but most of the major exams will be offline. So that is one thing I want you to know as well as you join this course. So while we are having the class online, I'll be recording the Zoom, and after recording it, I will have a file of the recording uploaded to YouTube. And when I upload it to YouTube, I'm going to share the YouTube link with you people in the chat room, because I believe while you are um, on YouTube it's much easier to, on YouTube it's much more easier to have you download the YouTube video and then you watch it over and over. And of course, you can also save it that you don't have to download it, because sometimes it give you storage problems. So that is why I decided to do it that way. But if the students decide otherwise, I can still send the video, a link of the video on a Google Drive. That is also an option. But I think it will still require downloading, having a lot of megabytes to download that file. But on the YouTube, you always have the videos listed there. You can join anytime you can watch it as much as you want. You can watch it anytime you want. So that I think is the best way to go about doing this. I know the difficulties we have with internet in Liberia. That is why I'm trying as much as I can to facilitate, to make it much more easier for you. But if you also have suggestions, you think there is a way you think we can go about this class that will make it much more easier for you, I'm down for it. You can make your suggestions, I'm always willing to listen, and so that we can have a smooth way of interacting. If you join, please mute yourself, okay, please, so that, because this is a recording, we don't want the other people who will be coming over later to watch the video to have this noise in the background. So now we'll start, we'll start discussing our lectures. So the first thing in biochemistry in this course is, first of all, to understand what is the definition of biochemistry and its application. I already sent you the course syllabus, the various things I will be discussing. So maybe I should try to share the course syllabus first, and then um, no, I will do that after this. So first of all, we want to get a definition of biochemistry, right? We say biochemistry, what does it do? Well, it aims to explain biological processes at the molecular and cellular levels, right? That's why so biochemistry mainly talk about the molecular biology and cellular processes that takes place within our bodies. And I believe most of you have already done molecular biology, right? So you know when you talk about molecular biology, and you've already done cell biology, so you know when you talk about cellular levels of our body. So at the cellular level, as well as the molecular level, the things that happen in there, it is what biochemistry try to understand, okay? But that is one aspect of it. That's not all, because in some areas we have environmental biochemistry, as we will see in just a moment. Now, they say, as its name implies, biochemistry is at the interface of biology and chemistry, right? So biochemistry actually try to combine two things. Biology, that is the study of living things, right? And chemistry, that is the study of chemicals, and other, just chemicals. Because our bodies actually, most of the things that happen in our body require chemicals, right? So they have enzymes, they have buffers and different types of hormones. All of these are biochemical substances that allow our body to carry on certain functions. So now biochemistry said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take biology and chemistry and combine the two of them and see how it happens. So that is what biochemistry does. That's how it helps. That is the most important thing in the study of biochemistry. That's why it's a very, very interesting and vast field in many areas of our studies. What biochemistry do? It is a hands-on experimental science that relies heavily on quantitative data analysis, which means in biochemistry, we look at qualitative data, but mostly we look at quantity, how large the data is. So biochemists are interested in understanding the structure and function of biological molecules. Just like I told you, biomolecules. So biochemists are interested in understanding the structures, how biomolecules look like, let's say proteins, how they look like, how nucleic acids look, how lipids look, right? And how these, what will be their function. Let's say, for example, there's a protein. This is a specific type of protein. How does it look? What will be its function? So in a sense that most of the time you'll see the function of a keke and the function of a motorbike or the function of a bicycle are different. Of course, most of them have similar function, but generally, they have one function, which is transportation, but they have their own specific functions. That is the same thing with biomolecules. All biomolecules' general function is to make sure there is life, make sure that life goes on, right? But they have their own specific functions as well. I hope that is clear for you. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Hello. Please mute yourself. Thank you. So we already talked about the definition of biochemistry, and then we talk about what it is and what is its function. So now let's talk about the applications of biochemistry. Because biochemistry, like I told you, it's a wide field. It incorporates a lot of things. The first thing you have to see here is that you may not think about is that biochemistry is highly applicable in environmental science. In the environment, biochemistry takes a lot of work. I mean, it functions hugely. Let's say, for example, photosynthesis, for example, right, is a biochemical process. And the application of pesticides, the application of, fertilizers, these are all biochemical processes, right? And then in biotechnology as well. Biochemistry is highly influential in the area of biotechnology. And if you did biochemistry, the molecular biology, you remember we talked about biotechnology, right? Where we have different types of genes, we have rearranging different types of DNAs, and we're using technology and biology to combine and carry on some kind of science, right? So it's a biotechnology, biochemistry is highly influential. In agriculture, biochemistry is highly influential. Nowadays, you have people designing enzymes, right? People developing different types of pesticides, people developing different types of fertilizers, right? People developing different types of preservatives to try to preserve, foods and other things. In the area of pharmaceuticals as well, biochemistry is highly instrumental. Most of the time, an area of biochemistry is called pharmacology and toxicology. That's a sub-branch in biochemistry that deal with understanding, the application of drugs, right? The function of that particular drug and how that drug is metabolized in the body. Biochemistry also help in that. Biochemistry also help in clinical diagnosis. Let's say, for example, when you come down with certain kind of diseases, and then let's say you have a viral infection over time, and then after some time you get better, biochemistry can help you understand what kind of disease you were infected with. And there are a series of techniques. We have the ELISAs, for example, right? Enzyme-linked immunosorbent assays. And also we have commercial products. Let's say, for example, we have this, different types of commercial products nowadays. So the reason why I see most of these products can be preserved for a long period of time without them being destroyed is because of the application of biochemistry in these products. So now, biochemistry is applicable to a wide variety of things, right? We may not be able to go through them in detail, but it's just to give you an idea. Now, let's see again where biochemistry plays a greater role, which is the chemical basis of life. Biochemistry is a central point of life. Without biochemistry, there will be no life. Okay, so here they say biochemistry is an interdisciplinary science that brings together many concepts from chemistry, cell biology, and physiology. We talk about chemistry already, right? We say chemistry is all the different types of chemicals out within us and our environment. And we talk about cell biology, right? Which is the study of our different types of cells and tissues. And physiology is the study of our, tissues, different types of tissues that make us who we are. Now, here is like a pyramid. This pyramid, I want us to start by looking at down here, right? Where you have, let me get this pointer. I want us to start looking at from where they have the elements and functional groups. This is where these are the basic, biological elements, different types of functional groups. These, please mute yourself if you just joined. These elements are the basic fundamental elements of all living things. All of them share these different elements. Please mute yourself. Hello. Okay, so now let's try to look at it from downward going up. So the elements and functional groups are make up different types of organisms who have carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, hydroxide, and different types of elements, right? These elements come together to make up biomolecules. All right, let's go. Elements, different types of elements. Let's say, for example, amino acids. Amino acids consist of, different types of elements, right? They have a carbon, they have a nitrogen, they have a hydrogen, right? And then they have an amino group that is attached to an amino acid. So all of these elements, let's say carbohydrates, for example, carbohydrates have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. We have proteins. Proteins are basically made out of amino acids, right? Most of them have these different types of elements. We as humans as well, we use oxygen to survive. And then we have hydrogen as humans too, right? We have nitrogen and there's also carbon, right? That make up uh, most part of our stuff. So then after the elements, the next part of it is what we call the biomolecules. Now, these biomolecules, this is going to be the central portion of our biochemistry, this particular course that we are about to study. Most of what we'll be discussing here will be around these biomolecules. We'll be talking about amino acids, we'll be talking about nucleotides, we'll be talking about the simple sugars. These simple sugars, they talk about, carbohydrates, right? And then talk about monosaccharides, disaccharides, polysaccharides, and so on and so forth. And then we also have fatty acids, such as lipids, right? Lipids, such as fats and oils. So most of what we'll be discussing will be centered around here. Now, biomolecules, like I said, are biological molecules, molecules that make life. Without these molecules, there will be no life. And then we also have macromolecules. Now, some of these biomolecules are considered to be macromolecules. Macro means large. Remember, we have micro and as well as macro, right? Let's see, you got a message in the chat here. Yes. So we have macro and micro. Micro, which is the MI, is the smaller one, and macro, MA, it is the large one. So now these proteins, DNA, RNA, and carbohydrates are considered large molecules. All right, they are considered large molecules, and most of them are made up of these micromolecules. Amino acids are the ones that make up proteins. Nucleotides are the ones that make up DNA. Simple sugars, such as glucose, galactose, these are the ones that make up carbohydrates. And then we have fats and lipids, right? Some long chain of fatty acids also make up lipids. So fatty acids are the ones that make up lipids. Lipids are not listed here, but that's it. There's also a macromolecule. So these are the ones that we'll be discussing mostly. Now, after that, biochemistry also discusses metabolism. Now, metabolism is a process through which things are, made in the body, right? How things happen. And metabolism have two phases. We have the catabolism and the anabolism part of metabolism. Catabolism is the breakdown, anabolism is the buildup, right? So for this part of this biochemistry is one you do in 310. Biochemistry 310, you'll be discussing the different types of metabolic pathways, glycolysis, citric acid cycle, beta oxidation, urea cycle, electron transport chain, and different types, right? You'll be discussing them there. And then we have the cell. In biochemistry, it's very essential to understand the cell because every aspect of our biochemical process takes place in the cell. So without understanding the cell and its organelles, it will be very difficult to understand what biochemistry is. And then we have the organisms. We have the trees, the mammals, fish, birds, and insects. We have our ecosystem, rivers, islands, forests, and deserts. So if you look at it, it comes from the smallest unit to the largest unit, from the smallest to the largest unit. That's what we were trying to look at here, how biochemistry starts from the smallest unit, which is the elements and the functional groups that make up every single thing about us, our environment, and that of the flora and fauna that are within our environments, right? So this is the hierarchical system of biochemistry. This is the chemical basis of life. Everything about biochemistry is built up from here. Okay, let's move to the next one. If you have question, you can just raise your hand and then I'll see you. I'll mute you, or you can just leave it in the chat room. And if you just join, you mute yourself, please. Good, everyone's muted. All right, so let's go. Now, so now that we know the biochemistry, we know the basic functions of in various areas biochemistry are applicable. And then we learn a little bit about the chemical or fundamental basis of biochemistry and living things that make up the living thing, right? Now, what I want us to do now is to go a little bit, get an overview of the cell and its different types of organelles. For this one, we'll actually speed up a little bit because I know many of you already know about the cell. So I don't want to waste your time on this, and hopefully you can read the rest of it for yourself. So let's come here. Okay, so is it eukaryotic cells? I swear to God, this Zoom cannot trouble. Excuse me. Let me try to share again. Oh, I'm try to edit these portions. Let me see. So sorry about this. Let me see what's the chat from here. Okay, so eukaryotic cells have internal membranes, right? Internal membranes are compartmentalized their functions. So the first thing we're trying to do here is first, basically, like I said, to talk about the different types of cells and, different organelles, the structures within them that contribute to these things. So the basic structure and functional unit of every organism is one of two types of cells. We have the prokaryotic cell as well as the eukaryotic cell. That is something we learned from, from the beginning, from high school level, right? We know they are the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. Now, they say only organisms of the domain bacteria and archaea consist of prokaryotic cells. Protists, fungi, animals, and plants all consist of eukaryotic cells. Now we know the major difference between a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell is that one of them have a true nucleus, like a true nucleus, and the other one has a pseudo nucleus or no nucleus at all. Okay, so like I said, we'll be running through this. So comparing prokaryotic cells as well as eukaryotic cells, right? Basic features of all cells, that is both the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic cell, is that they both have plasma membrane, they both have a semi-fluid substance called a cytosol, they all have chromosomes, and the two of them also have ribosomes. So all of them have this thing in common. Now, but for prokaryotic cells, they are characterized by having no nucleus, right? But for me, I often like to say that they have a pseudo nucleus because they have something that looks like a nucleus, but it's not a nucleus. It doesn't function like a nucleus, right? And if you remember, they always tell us that cells are from pre-existing cells. If you remember your cell biology well, you remember that we talked about cells to be from pre-existing cells. So if a eukaryotic cell has a nucleus, it means a prokaryotic cell initially had a nucleus, maybe that was not functioning, but due to evolution, it was able to evolve and then have this the nucleus part of it. So the prokaryotic cells have a DNA that is in an inbound region called the nucleus. So they have no membrane-bound organelles, they have no cytoplasm bound by the plasma membrane. So here is a structure of a bacterium, right? A bacterium is a prokaryote. So if you look here, you'll not see anything that looks like a nucleus, but you have different types of organelles. And then let's talk about the prokaryotes, right? Compare prokaryotes and eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are characterized by having DNA in the nucleus that is bound by a membranous nuclear envelope. They have a membrane-bound organelles. They have the cytoplasm in the region between the plasma membrane and the nucleus. Eukaryotic cells are generally much larger than that of prokaryotic cells. The plasma membrane is a selective barrier that allows sufficient passage of oxygen, nutrients, waste to serve the volume of every cell. And cells are very, very important, essential when it comes to having a plasma membrane, because what it does is it separates things, right? There are things that are supposed to come in the cell, and there are things that are not supposed to come in the cell. And also the timing of things coming in the cell is very essential. The general structure of biological membrane is a double layer phospholipid as well. So here's an example of a plasma membrane, right, from a transmission electron microscope right here. And this one right here is a cartoon that is drawn from, this one right here is a cartoon drawing of, is a cartoon drawing of this visualization right here. So on this plasma membrane, you have the hydrophilic region, which is a region that is tolerable to water, is a region that loves water, that doesn't have problem with interacting with water. And then you have the hydrophobic region in this middle here. This is a region that do not like water. It doesn't interact with water. That's because it's made up of a lot of lipids. And you can mix oil with water, right? They are immiscible. They cannot go together. And then we have hydrophilic region, which is also another area that loves water. So here we call it the outer membrane space. That is the one that is up. We have the inner membrane space, and then we have the intermembrane. We have the intermembrane space, which is the one in the middle, and then we have the inner membrane, which is the one inside. Okay. All right. So the logistics of carrying out cellular metabolism just limits to the size of the cell. So this one is not relevant. Now here's a an animal cell. So if you look at the cells, you see different compartments, different parts of the cell, and different organelles of this particular cell. Okay, so this is a structure of an animal cell that most of you already know about. And from the rest of the note, all you see is different types of organelles, and that the information is carried, right? From different types of functions that they have. The nucleus contains most of the cell's genes, and is usually the most conspicuous organelle. The nuclear envelope encloses the nucleus. Just different version of different parts of the cell that are very important that you think you need to deal with over time to understand and know that biochemistry, mostly everything about our metabolic processes takes place within these cells. So that's just it. And I'm just going through the slides because our time is almost finished. But also it's because I believe most of you have already, you have these notes already, and you don't need me to keep repeating these cellular functions to you. In our next lecture, we'll get right into real business, right? So for the remaining of the time, I'll try to display the syllable so that we can know what we are doing next and how I'm going to send the notes to you as soon as I can. So, excuse me. Someone is coming very late. So this will be a syllable. So what we try to explain today is this one right here. No, mute yourself. Mute yourself. Okay. Antoinette Kuning. You know Samuel Kuning? You people are coming late. So today what we tried to talk about was this one, biochemistry and its application, to be able to define biochemistry, outline the application of biochemistry in medicine, agriculture, etc. We talk about the cell structure and function, right? We talk about the prokaryotic cell as well as the eukaryotic cell and the different types of structures that are within this cell, and also subcellular organelles and their functions. Subcellular organelles are different types, like we talk about the lysosomes, the different types of organelles, the lysosomes, right? The ribosomes, all of these subcellular organelles and the functions, right? This is also going to be an assignment that I'm going to give you. So we are done with that today. So next time we'll meet, we'll be talking more, a little bit in detail about the plasma membrane. Of course, you already saw the plasma membrane just now, right? And then we saw the major compartment, including phospholipids, sphingolipids, cholesterol, and proteins of membranes. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in our next meeting. And then we'll talk about the plasma membrane composition, what is composed of the plasma membrane. And then we'll also talk about the transport across the plasma membrane, how things move from one area of the plasma membrane to another. That's also, maybe we'll combine these two lectures in one bulky one that we can finish off in our next lecture. So please, I encourage you to read as much as you can. I'll try also to send the notes in time so that you'll be able to study ahead of time. So you should expect the note for plasma membrane composition transport across the plasma membrane between now and tomorrow. And we'll also schedule, this time around, we'll try to schedule our Zoom meeting ahead of time so that people can get the message and try to position themselves, be able to attend the class on time and be able to ask questions when necessary. So if you have any question at this point, I'll be willing to take your question. I see. You have any question, you can unmute yourself and talk. We have just a little bit of time, very small time, but we can use it. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Jalo.
Yes. How are you, Christian?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for your lecture.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically, yeah, these are bases that you have already taught us before, and we done that in the prerequisite courses. But I want to ask, how will our online attendance be?
Well, that is something I'm going to work on. This is a university. So mostly my attendance I'll take attendance more seriously when it comes to, because I'm teaching online, it's difficult for everyone to join together. I'll mostly be taking attendance from the exams, the tests and quizzes I'll be giving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me see. Thanks. We hope next time you'll have us informed on the meeting sooner. Yes, Mr. Techno Canon 18. I will try to inform you guys as soon as I can. I should have stopped the recording. Okay, anyone else? Any question? I know this is just a trial. As time goes, we'll try to get better at it. It's me too. I'm in a difficult situation right now. I'm still not yet in Liberia. So let's try to manage this one. If you have questions still, you can still ask your questions in the group chat. I'll be there to respond to all of your questions. Mute yourself if you're not talking. So yeah, maybe we can end the call now if there are no questions. And I will have this video uploaded to YouTube as soon as I can. And also, and hopefully you can watch it over or just read the notes. Like Kristen just mentioned, these are things that we've already discussed before. Maybe the newest thing there is just the introduction, the definition of biochemistry, the applications. That is just as new here. We touched on this very, very deeply during our 210 class. I just wanted to review it a little bit more. Hopefully you get started. But from the next lectures now, we'll try to go. I think even the plasma membrane is something that we discussed in 210. So if you were really following up with 210, you'll not have difficulties in understanding most of these lectures. So thank you very much for joining. I wish you all the best. And please look forward to the next notes. I'll have them sent in the next 24 to 48 hours. Take care. I'm going to end the meeting now. Stop the recording.